Good morning, everyone. Happy Mother's Day. My name is Jacqueline, and today I want to share the testimony of my journey to motherhood and the adoption of our son. The road that led us to him was long and marked by deep longing and moments of heartbreak, but through it all, God never left our side. He carried us when we didn't have the strength to stand. From the time I was a little girl, becoming a mother was the deepest desire of my heart. That dream never faded. It only grew stronger with time. My husband and I waited 6 years together to become parents. But for me, that journey began when I was just 5 years old, so the longing for motherhood felt like a lifetime. From the very beginning, we dreamed of becoming parents. Our home was already filled with so much love and laughter, and we were so ready to share that joy with a child. We longed for the blessing and privilege of raising a family together. But then came 3 years of waiting, 3 years of negative pregnancy tests, tear-soaked pillows, and countless prayers where we poured our hearts out to God, pleading for direction. What now, Lord? What do we do? And in that quiet, often painful space, God kept giving us the same answer: wait. Waiting is never easy, especially when your heart is aching. But we held on to the truth that God is never late. He is always on time. Even when we couldn't see it or feel it, He was working behind the scenes, weaving together something greater than we could have ever imagined. We never mourned the inability to have a biological child. Our hearts simply longed to be parents and to share our love with the child that God had chosen for us. On Christmas Day of 2020, we shared the decision to adopt with our families. The joy that filled the room was unforgettable. The moment marked the beginning of a beautiful journey, one overflowing with more love and support than we could have ever imagined. That first year was filled with heartache. Time after time, we presented our profile to expected mothers, only to have them choose another family. It happened again and again, and each no stung deeply. But in the spring of 2022, things shifted. Ryan and I were given the opportunity to meet 2 expected parents, and from the moment we sat down with them, there was a sweet, genuine connection. In the end, they chose to parent their child, and we truly could not have been happier for them. Meeting them became a profoundly meaningful part of our adoption journey. It brought us a face to the names we had prayed for and helped ease the fear we had about those meetings, how those meetings might feel like. Our hearts softened in a way that we didn't expect, and our perspective widened. Yes, we deeply longed to become parents, but they were the ones facing some of the hardest, most selfless decisions of their lives. That realization changed us. Adoption is beautiful, yes, but it is born from brokenness. It opened our eyes and hearts in powerful ways. By June of 2022, our agency contract was about to expire, and we were disheartened to face the renewal of another year and the cost of that renewal. We prayed that God would match us before the deadline, which was only 3 weeks away. Right before a quick trip to visit my family up north, we were contacted by a woman who had a baby in foster care. After days of conversations, calls with our agency and attorney, and planning to welcome this child into our home, we were met with a harsh disruption. I was heading to the airport to travel home and meet this sweet baby the very next day. But moments before my flight, I got a call that DSS had blocked the placement and the baby would remain in foster care. There was absolutely nothing we could do. Sitting alone at the airport, I was completely shattered. I could barely open my puffy eyes by the time my plane had landed. Our hearts were broken and our plans were disrupted again. We fully relied on God to shower us with His peace as we grieved this loss. We were so close, but God had other plans. During that summer, God kept whispering the word August in my heart, as if it were a promise. I clung to it. A friend even sent me lyrics to a song that said, "Get your hopes up, your time is coming," and I fully believed it. Several weeks later, in August, we matched with an expected mother who was due the following spring. She wanted a closed adoption. That was hard for us, as we had always hoped for an open adoption. We sensed some red flags, but we pushed forward anyway. We didn't pray about it as much as we should have, fearing that God would tell us to walk away. We were desperate for it to work out. Finances were running low, and this match was very, very costly, so I applied for some grants. Fast forward to January of 2023, God kept showing me visions of sequoia trees. Never in my life have I thought about a sequoia tree so much. With these persistent thoughts, along came unsettled feelings in my soul, as if God was preparing me for what was about to unfold. Those feelings proved to be true. In March, the week of the expected mother's due date, as we were glued to our phones waiting for the call that she was in labor. Our car was packed, the car seat was installed, and we were ready to go at a moment's notice. Instead, we got the call that we had been scammed. Our third disruption, adoption. We were absolutely heartbroken. I had never seen Ryan cry the way he did during that time. Some days, I didn't even have the strength to brush my teeth without collapsing in tears. The pain was overwhelming. But even in the depths of our sorrow, God held us so close. Looking back now, I can clearly see how He carried us through the fire, gently, faithfully, and without letting us go. Amazingly, the grant that I had applied for back in the fall came through, and we were awarded the full amount allowed. God had provided down to the very dollar exactly what we had lost financially over those past 7 months. It was His provision, perfectly timed and undeniably clear. Our story wasn't over, it was just beginning. I kept thinking about sequoia trees. I kept hearing the word August. So with renewed hope and strength, every Sunday, Ryan and I went to the altar at church for prayer. One Sunday, Amy prayed over us, and afterwards, she said, "I need to speak to you after the service. God spoke something over my heart that He wants me to share with you." When we spoke, the first thing she said was, "Do you know how sequoia trees grow?" My mouth dropped wide open. She said, "Sequoias only grow after a fire. Their seeds can sit on the forest floor for years, but they only bloom after being refined by the flames. God told me that this last disruption was your fire. You've been planted and now you'll grow." God was clearly moving on our behalf. A week later, another friend, Lynn, came up to us in church. She said that she had a dream the night before and that she wrote down the details in her journal so she wouldn't forget what she felt God was calling her to share with us. Her dream was that she was working as a labor and delivery nurse when a young woman with very long brown hair handed her a very, very tiny baby boy and said, "Give him to Jacqueline and Ryan. This is their child." That next week, I was visiting family up north again when I got a message on our adoption page from an expected mother. She shared her story and desire to place her child for adoption. Right away, I could feel that this was, in fact, the person that we had been waiting for. God's plans were unfolding. We made plans to meet up when I got home. The moment she walked into the restaurant, I saw that she had very long brown hair. My jaw dropped open again. God was in the details. After all the heartache we had walked through over the past few years, it would have been understandable to feel guarded. But for Ryan and me, there wasn't a single ounce of fear or doubt. Everything fell into place so effortlessly, and our hearts were at peace. We knew without question that God was still in control and that this was His perfect plan unfolding just as He intended. Over the next 3.5 months, I was able to build a beautiful relationship with her. I attended every ultrasound appointment. We felt so privileged, not just to be included, but to walk alongside someone so strong and so selfless. The details of Lynn's dream, a very tiny baby boy, was also true. Hayden had growth restriction in his birth mother's womb, so he was induced early at 37 weeks, which just so happened to be the last week in August. We were incredibly blessed to be there for his birth. It was a once-in-a-lifetime privilege to hear his very first cries, something his birth mother made sure we would not miss. I even had the honor of cutting the cord, a sacred gift I never dreamed that I would get to experience in my life. The hospital staff gave us a room connected to his birth mother's recovery room, and for days, just the 4 of us, Ryan, me, Hayden, and his birth mom, held him, laughed, cried, and soaked in those holy moments together. I'll never stop being grateful for how God wove every detail together. We now have a beautiful relationship with Hayden's birth family, and it's been such a gift to us all. One last part of God's sweet redemption, I'm now living my dream of being a stay-at-home mom. I didn't think it was financially possible, but just like He did with every step of this journey, God provides. At 39 years old, I'm living the life I dreamed of as a little girl. Becoming a mother didn't happen on my timeline, but I wouldn't trade our story for anything. God was faithful through every moment, every heartbreak, and every delay. If your story isn't good yet, it's because God's not done working. Give Him your trust, give Him your heart, and watch. He will work all things together for your good and for His glory.